The evil that wreases all beings. Chapter 39. The stone rain falls in the 9 days. Flying Chern frown, as if sleeping a dream was woken up in general. The flame in his heart has been burning up his heart. Grabbed the sword in his hand, the body did not turn, so casually waved away. I saw that the sword, black light, like long eyes, instantly turned into a black arc, even if it met the body gang cover, but also not the least bit will be the sharp mouth of the person's feet in parallel cut off half. A sound fell, cut off. The fracture hit the ground. He howled like a pig in pain. Dust sent suddenly the crowd agitation, crying and running to save his brother, but see Wuti cold eyes and fly the face of the fierce, but no one dared to come forward. Master, you can rest assured that Fei Chern will kill these animals and avenge your senior sisters. Rai poem gently put down. Flying Chern stood up with a sword. What will he take to overcome his hatred now? He did not know. Start to kill the pig. General squeal of people. Kick, fly, he pressed, facing the other 100 people, fearless. You slaughtered my Xianxia sect 55 people. I Yun Fei Chern, today will you dust margin sect, exterminate the family. Today, he does dare to say this, although he is only until the fetal movement period, but the body has been trained by the heaven, and there is no horse, and even the dragon snake cannot hit him to death, and he is really not afraid of the general immortal sword, and now he has the world's most precious immortal sword, even in the face of more people. But what fear? He wants to save the Xianxia sect, in the midst of fire and water, to protect the people who love him, and to fulfill his own promise to establish the Xianxia sect as the first faction of the whole earth. If he can't even maintain what is in front of him, how can he be able to solve the mystery of his own life? How do you see your adoptive father who's gone? And how to hope to find Chern Kiora? He has too many concerns, too many mysteries waiting for him. Want to understand these many things, to solve these many things. The best way is to show themselves on the world stage, show in front of the world. Master, kill them, so that the sword will be stronger and stronger, and Master's cultivation will be higher and higher, so that they all die, absorb their souls, and let them never live. Blarney covered his mouth and giggled, staring at the hundreds of people in front of him. His eyes clearly had a smell of greed, and the more he went behind, the more confused and hurried his words became, like the groans of women who were having sex, a kind of fever for blood or death. Little thief, you dare to attack me, and hurt my brother, let me meet you. See, his brother was in front of the young sword off the legs. The dust sent a person to jump out, his face white jade, with a cold smile. A brown clothes are covered with blood. See that the people killed are the most. The man held a cyan sword in his hand. A body of repair has reached the peak of 9 levels of coagulation gas, from the nourishing Dan period is very close, although from the strength of Wuti is still low. But to deal with Xianxia school ordinary disciples, it is a lot stronger. Flying Chern looked at the person at a glance. His face showed a sneer. His feet were non-stop, and he was walking in the direction of Wuti standing. For the person in front of him, he did not see in his eyes. Daring thief, dare to underestimate me. The man's green protective gang cover together. The hands of the immortal sword has been offered. A big drink. The ground climb up. Flying sword chaos string turned into a Changhong toward the Flying Chern attack. The faint fire of the flying sword seems to condense the air, although he looks down on the other side's fetal movement period as strength, but still have vision, and not just think that dealing with a person who has nothing to hold on to. After all, the absolute immortal sword caught in his hand can actually make the surrounding a cold and become abnormal, and the encounter is broken. Sharp is to display the strongest skill in his life. The sword of fire, the ground is broken. The green fire flying sword rushed to the flying. Momentum has to say amazing. The dust edge school itself has no strong spells. The highest is the sky earthquake and earth cracking, but the cultivation of the dust edge heart law Tao magic is extremely strong. Then the famous family school is also not bad. The magic is strong. The moves are naturally extraordinary. Under this blow, even the air is a little twisted up. Get out of here. Flying in the hands of the magic sword poured into a wave. The time into a let the air tear the hole. The dark earth fire directly cut into 2 sections. The fire separated 2 sections, smashed on the ruins, exploded. However, the surly gas of the best immortal sword did not stop there. Suddenly strengthened many times, turned into a half moon, hit the person's protective gang cover, and the disciples of the Dust Edge Mountain were hit by heavy objects, flew out of more than 10 meters. no longer stand up. The protective gang cover is also inch smashed. This sword can see the remaining dozens of people are afraid to know that the strength of Wuti is too close disciples. Such a simple blow to fly, that kind of force of nature, is not what they can resist. Watching the other side knock down his apprentice, Wutai did not care. You know that his baby into 7 levels of strength, in the second-rate school also belongs to the upper level of cultivation, and his disciples did not know that he was several times worse than him. He can become the dust of this generation of real people, but also because he was young when into the Immortal mountain and won the Taoist system of a fairy, so that he cultivates until now to achieve this cultivation. That's how the dust circle turned from a small group into a large group of more than 1,000 people. See the magic of flying churn flat. Repair should be by the master Ru Qing from the Qing Xuan secret real treasure. Copy change to the Xiangxia is determined. The heart will secretly happy, want each other to hold the absolute immortal sword, but the world's greatest treasure, if he does not peep that nature cannot be said. So even if the opponent took this weapon after Overlord, but he is also determined to bet honor, kill this repair for the difference of their own do not know. Several times the youth sees the absolute immortal sword. Although I don't know where you found this magic sword, and what method you used to be able to get close to the ordinary magic sword, but you are a little kid with a moving fetus, and you can't even use your magic power. So don't be arrogant. After I kill you, you won't need this magic sword anymore. Wuti laughed, hand sword mojo a pinch, running his protective gang cover. The hands of yellow jade broken steel also began to emit a bright yellow light. Master, this man is very powerful. You must be careful. Chao Yan standing behind the flying churn. She this sword spirit virtual fantasy, looming, touch not, also attack not, is very conspicuous. But the general Limbao sword level sword have their own sword spirit. Wuti nature is not unfamiliar. The strength of a lot of people he has also seen. At most touch also just careful to deal with it. Way stone. Zhuangxan environment, the sand below, 9 days stone rain, fall. Wuti angry drink, the sword in the hand even led, 10 square cloth shoes to the ground force a pile, a ton of dust, the sword in his hand pointed to the sky. The moment, the sand on the ground condensed to the sword, turned into bursts of rain. Stone to the flying churn smashed. Those stones are with a strong known gas, guided by the yellow jade broken steel sword. His magic is extremely strong. Those small finger-like stones to the tip of his sword will change into the size of the human head. If hit people, it is estimated that it is not good, and the scope may also be great. The rear of the flying is Ru Yushu, and Lin Ruiyu and other people. If there is no difference in smashing, flying churn himself is okay, but hurt her master but not good. Flying churn is also dare not light the enemy. After all, repair is placed there. In fact, it can easily pass the past. Repair Yuan baby before, keep Yuan Guban simple, but it is extremely difficult to repair Yuan baby, must be full of spiritual energy in the body. Danton Jindan formation can catalyze the birth of Yuan baby. Once formed, magic power is several times larger than before. This is the extraordinary place of Yuan baby period. Flying naturally will not be stupid to even the protective gang cover are not open. The hands played a few than usual special gang cover knot. The black shield of the sword called out. The gang cover is very strong, in a huge circle, but the yellow gang cover is much bigger than the yellow jade broken steel. The black gang cover will be next to the sand and stone all hit fly. The trend blocked Roy Poetry a few people in front of the eyes, so also removed flying churn at the same time to take care of a few people and distraction. Gang cover just started. The hundreds of stones from flying churn head hit. Thundering sound is no less than he dealt with the momentum of the dragon snake. The full bluster scared the dozens of Wuti children, and back a few steps, and Flying Chen's protective gang cover was hit by these stones, immediately began to shake up. The gap is clear at the moment, and the stone hit the ground, all fell into it, even the bounce is free. It can be seen that its power is not ordinary people can bear. Ruiyu Poetry Yuan baby into the beginning, the difference between the other 7 levels, although it looks like the gap is not obvious, but she also formed a Xiangxia 5 big array. Strength increase under the ability to barely support each other's spell, and flying than the other side, the strength is worse than more than a few levels, but a few sections, now struggling to support. The body gang cover almost seems to break open, but also in the hands of the absolute immortal sword power, surly gas under, even just a shake, it is hard to resist. Flying Chern, this just glanced at, has seen the sword dexterous words in the back pinch, a few not prints, cast do not know what magic will be so, although know this absolute sword belongs to the treasure, is the spirit of the thing, but at the moment the first sword spirit to help control the absolute sword, is also secretly amazed, for the first time against the monster of the Yuan infant period, realize the difference between the strength of the other party and their own. Fly Chern were also dare to regenerate the heart of the light, a big drink, the hands of the sword is also pointing to the sky like the other party, in an instant, heaven and earth are all condensed into the sword, the clouds of the sky seem to be cut into two sections, its momentum as the first time. The day is in the day, the moon Shua its need, God war in Xuan, its Chern yin and yang, sword potential collapse, the evil that reases all beings. Chapter 40. The sword falls to the sky. Scientia Peak at this time covered the sky with dark clouds, has entered the night, however, the top of the mountain, but a strong light straight through the earth like heaven and earth. The surrounding rain also shone out, the day is in the day, the moon Shua its need, God war in Xuan, its Chern yin and yang, sword potential collapse in the day. That's it. Sword dexterous words slowly close the bright eyes, softly follow the cloud. Fei Chern will read up, the sword on the hand is the same as him, printed from around, into black and white, two colors of Tai Kai, one side on behalf of the day, one side on behalf of the night, four sides Taijia yin yang figure condensed in the flying side, the sun and moon as the call from the four sides, slowly gathered into a huge gas sword, as if in an instant can go straight through the clouds, and the 6 consecutive spells of Wuti, hit the 9 days of stone rain fall contact with this huge lightsaber, immediately into a dust of heaven and earth, can no longer move forward half a minute, shocked at the power of this sword, while the other side has not condensed into the whole sword, where the iron also dare to resist. He naturally knows the 4 sides of the 2 colors of Tai Kai. Generally only spells above the 5th level will have this special pattern between heaven and earth. Hit a spirit only to remember that there are many disciples standing behind him, quickly turned around, to his disciples who drink aloud, will you please go? Do you want to die? The disciples of the dust school heard the palm teaching the real people drink, and quickly gathered at random sacrifice to take off the sword, like a pile of flies scattered to the sky. They were originally some people are scattered fairy, some people are qualified is the big school of culling down. Tao heart is not pure, did not dare to move before this time when they heard suddenly ran, who is not afraid of the pond fish. Rai poetry at this time to eat back blood. Dan medicine, meditating behind the flying churn, surprised to look at his son to perform the stunts, asked around, this is not our Xianxia magic, is it? Where did he learn to do that? When did he get so good? Lin Ryu and so on are not know, where have seen these stunts, look at each other stunned. Even a fool could see that this magic was extraordinary, and that huge air sword was many times bigger than the transcends word of Qing Genmun, the stone of Wei Wei, the land of the deep, the 9 days wailing, the sky shaking and the earth cracking. The Le Wuti is also not seal even play, foot even step square array. He also do not want to be so sitting still, used to deal with Xianxia 5 square array of this door's strongest skill. 6 days of earthquake and ground crack once again made out, trying to take the opportunity to strengthen the spell. After this move will fly to kill the spot. The ground began to collapse. The original devastated Xianxia peak is still trembling. Micro support of the house pillars, etc., all collapsed, have blown into the sky, have collapsed into the ground. Sad and miserable fell ground. The underground turned out 2 giant claws regardless of the death in the attack of the black body gang cover, split and pull under the explosion. Gang cover was continuously rapid shot, a dozen times, although flying churn after the day lay rebuild the body, but only a pair of forged skin, bones and flesh but failed to forge together. But the light of the skin, for the immortal sword of the ordinary cut, has been able to ignore the horizontal, but you know that the immortal sword is not very strong, especially the immortal of the mainland of China are unfathomable, in the face of the present Wu iron and its, holding the artifact yellow jade broken steel. Light is a forging body, however, it is not enough, because you know that one day, will be on the alchemy of the Yuan baby, so flying churn will ask, how to charm again. Flying churn is already some regret this insatiable, even trigger kill fairy formula 4 big method 2, he is now the magic just promoted soon, although with the absolute immortal sword to kill some condensate such as cutting grass and vegetables, but do not want to yuan baby 7 level of the old monster as strong, in his condensation diagram has cast 2 Dafer, played him off balance, he was struck by the 2 great hands of the strengthened innocently split art, which made him spit out his blood, but at the same time, the map he had applied was already put together. Crash, sky, sword. A big drink, flying in the hands of the absolute immortal sword ready to strike. In an instant, the world of the sun fire, the moon's youth as if a time condensed here, sword light, everything turned into dust. The original is to absorb heaven and earth sun, and moon spirit condensed into a sword spell, so when the sun and moon cross, there is no doubt that the collapse of the sword is the most powerful horizontal, the sword of the world fell from the sky, sweeping thousands of troops. I saw that the sky suddenly like a crack, the sword light on both sides of the black and white in the flying churn wave under the rapid swing, from top to bottom, its potential like a thunderbolt, its shape like a knife, very severe to the Wuti protective gang cover, will be cut off. Crash, sky, sword. However, Fei Chen's sword just up the sword, clever words have followed Jiao drink a sound, she controlled the collapse of the sword also followed the virtual stroke out, from the east, from left to right, like a god's arrow in the sky to chase the sun as fast, but not the iron, but floating in the air has not flown far dust disciples. Fei Chen don't know why the magic can use this kill fairy formula in the spell, the secret of the spell since needless to say, she is going to use, and 2 people are singing this sword formula, together pinch method printing, step, like a person, really strange, the disciples of the Dust Edge school did not think that this sword skill was so strong, and did not think that there would be a total of 2 swords, and one of them would cut them, and even looked at the fight of 2 people in the field and cleverly brought together, 2 swords intersect, a huge cross, and the original escape out of the Dust Edge Mountain disciples all killed, weapons and men either melt into flying ash, or break into pieces and fall to the ground like scrap metal. A scream, blood in Wuti's right hand fracture, he hurriedly pinched a few swords, hit on the right hand, his strength is how strong, at the last moment I do not know what method, will gang cover plus hold to more than a dozen layers, but his yellow jade broken steel, and the right hand is forever left. The disciples were killed by flying churn, one of his hands was cut off, Wutai at the moment pale, no blood color, and see flying churn sword slowly coming. He is horrified to know a fetal movement for people, forced to use advanced spells, light dizzy, heavy casualties, and the teenager in front of him is still approaching him, how not surprised, not even willing to take the sword, toward the flying churn throughout a dozen dark red knife tools, a few ups and downs will disappear in the night. Flying churn saw a sword failed to cut each other to death, the heart has been surprised, he did not directly attack the next step, because his magic has already been completely forgiven, forced to move over the sword, let his hand holding the sword at the moment trembling, in the effort will be more than a dozen dark red flying sword, then kneel on the ground. The evil that reases all beings chapter 41 rebuilds the Xianxia school, Cloud Faken fainted at that moment, a black strange bird in the sky, disappeared in the north. So far, the lake came from the gushing sound, water waves ripple, broken moon, the Jung sound silent fall, curl up and down, but stop, and go, like 3 days around the beam, continuous sound, Ruayu poetry, and the 4 disciples looked at each other, but also unable to inspect the melodious Jung sound, only Xianjun Jian dexterous words closed eyes facing the direction of the sky lake, suspended in the air, silently listening to music. 5 people allow themselves to take off, placed in Xianxia Peak Tea Garden. The tea garden at this moment should be Xianxia Peak. Last place has not been completely destroyed, although there are many broken, but still available. Set up the flying churn and Fang Jitsi, know the absolute sword after the Lord, sword spirit will protect the Lord. Ruayu poetry, a few people will rest assured to gather together sacrifice take off sword, will bury the corpses of disciples. 14 people were buried in the backyard of the tea house, 41 people in Xianxia Peak Tianu, a total of 55 people, some of the bodies were incomplete, and they were all buried together. A few people cried while they were buried, and the speed slowed down a lot until the sun, after 4 people buried, looking at Xianxia Peak, a piece of chaos, the heart is sad, Xianxia temple collapsed nearly 2 meters under the great magic. Constantly, one side of the tree implanted 100 years ago are destroyed, and a huge sword mark from the temple door penetrating from the opposite dozen places. Extremely frightening, at this moment in the day to see the use of the collapse of the sword. 4 people are amazed. I just think I underestimated this little brother's magic. Suddenly did not realize. The sky 2 black dots quickly driving flying sword came. 4 people are scared, but do not know who came. Xianxia party just past the disaster, can no longer be born. What changes, is to hold the sword to freeze. 2 people came close. A few talent found that was actually Kingston Gate Sky Peak Lucky June Hua daughter Lucky Double Snow. There is another unknown young woman, Xin Shuangsu, a disciple of the Sky Peak of Kingston Gate, has seen Uncle Ru, which, I wonder, what happened? Lucky Double Snow made a gift. Look up to see this tragedy, but also some fear. After all, at the foot of their own gate, will come out of such things. In her impression has not been, well, you have now come to the Kingaman, allowing the clan to go deep into their own hinterland, and it is not you that have made me Xianxia Pai suffer this great disaster. Si Mangxing came out on the angry way, without giving each other any face. At this moment she is already very angry. After all, the side of the door is a lot of Kingston door shelter. Out of such things are also the responsibility of the other party. But these are still small things. She is angry, is around the door unexpectedly like to get whose news, and put the dust scent over. And there are such powerful means, in addition to Kingston door who can have. This Lucky Double Snow was such a burst of questioning, with her character, should have been angry, but at the moment in the heart is inexplicable worry. Flying Churn, actually hesitate up, she has been with Flying Churn, where will know this change. Mainchong, now, stop it. Ryusha waved to stop Si Mangxing from continuing to steal white, sorted out the mood, and asked, what is the so-called matter of the nephew's arrival at this moment? If there is nothing to do, it will be all right. As you can see, I, Xianxman, have unfinished business and cannot accompany you. I came to find. No, I sent Brother Yun Faken's disciple Hua Ling to Xianxia Peak. I wonder, where Brother Yun is. Lucky Double Snow thought, then told a lie, where she dare to say to find Cloud Fei Chan, but under the worry can only take the flowerling as a shield. She is also the first time to fly called the elder brother. But she does not know about the entry time. She does not know how many years earlier than the Cloud Fly Chan, according to the generation, or also have to call the younger brother is Hua Ling, a disciple of the younger brother. When did the little master get a disciple? Lin Ruiyu stared at Lucky Double Snow side of the beautiful girl, some strange under the heart. You the flowerling long eyelashes, the eyes are quite spiritual. Look around the worry look very poor and clever. And heard that Cloud Churn disciples, then some like, just listen to the name of Double Snow. Flowerling is already know that the other is his master's master. She has not seen such a beautiful master. The heart has been surprised, but turned to remember not see Flying Churn, then some panic. Flowerling, have seen the master's, teachers, master. Hua Ling, is the master's new disciple. The master left in a hurry, did not take Hua Ling. Hua Ling is so worried about the master. Master, can you know where the master has gone now? Your master is resting at the tea house at the foot of the mountain. Let me take you to him. Chang writing saw Ruiyu poem face not warm not angry, just staring at the flowerling, staring at each other's head also lowered, then help the flowerling rescue said, will be Lucky Double Snow, and flowerling 2 women into the Flying Churn bedroom, although I do not know what Double Snow want. But since the other party is said to escort flowerling arrived, it will not care. A few people are good comfort flowerling, master and apprentice 5 people, will return to the courtyard to chat Xianxia after the plan to come. The courtyard is deep, a peony or was trampled to death, or was knocked over, and ended up all over the ground. But the final beautiful, a few stunning masters and apprentices standing in front of the court, looking at the scenery of a place, do not know what to say. Ruiyu poem to Lin Ruiyu 4 people tragic way, now Xianxia Peak Gate has fallen, the disciples are gone, if you want to rebuild, but I do not know how many days, for the teacher is not know how to be good. Flying Churn more scheming, but unconscious, at the moment only, you and I a few people, what plans? All said it, master, as a matter of urgency, we can issue a call order for the sect, so that the old people who went out a few years ago can contact each other, select local students who are proud of their qualifications, and send them to Xiangxia Peak and rebuild Xiangxia Gate. Chang Writing walked out and said that although her face was haggard, but because of the deliberate aid of your sister, the injury is her lightest. See the other three do not say. They first said, yes, master, we Xiangxia Gate cannot fall down, Ruking master to 100 years ago to build to now. Although we Xiangxia Gate has not met such a calamity, but there have been many hardships, each time cannot safely escape it. Disciples think that this time we will also respond to the difficulties, and will not fulfill the wishes of those who want the Xiangxia school to disappear. Xi Manxing, arms holding the bleak look of Fang Jitsi, vowed to say, her character is strong, after being bullied, think is, what you have said is all right, but the school has been working since Master Ruking left, under the management of the division, it is fading, no longer the grand, the money in the library is less. Xiangxia sent steep mountains, soaring into the clouds, to rebuild the yellow and white pearl precious pieces are very huge. How? Is there any good idea? Turning his head, Ruai Poetry looked at Lin Ruiyu said, she is not as good as the master has many methods, but there are 4 good disciples, who each perform their duties to help, so everything is the big guys gathered together to discuss. Lin Ruiyu hand-supported chin, looked up and thought, said, the money and silver matter can be donated by the disciples, who have scattered out in the past dynasties, which is a place, however, during the war last night, the flying churn almost destroyed the door of the dust gate, and the money and silver and swords that fell were countless, which is another place, where the villages within 400 miles were safe under the shelter of our Xiangxia Gate for many years. Ghosts never dared to harass. If I know that Xiangxia Gate has suffered a great disaster to rebuild, and the mouth is cold, they will surely give some, and that is the third, so that our Xiangxia school of stone houses can be rebuilt, as the month said is extremely, alas, for the teacher in office for more than 10 years, the encounter was such a calamity of almost annihilation, really is not how good, reluctant to make you 4 disciples to contribute to the plot, for the teacher ashamed, Ruai Poetry heart really sad, do not know what to say. To no more than a decade ago, Xiangxia sent Master Ru Qing. Xiangxia Gate looks not what kind of prestige, but during the many secret things, think that Master Ru Qing young, since the title Xiangxia real, her life alone and proud, in addition to it's called the world's beauty all for its subordinates, but also is bold to package the day. The disaster is constantly people, she is the strength of the generation, that said, at that time, I really did not know how many enemies she had provoked, how many enemies, seeking revenge was year after year, but every time the enemy had not hit the door, it was Ruking with the supreme treasure in the door. Xiangxia holy sword across the mountain, 100 years of slaughter, so that Xiangxia Gate has never suffered too much. It led to the apprentices are good people, they do not know the secret in the door. Only Ruai Poetry I learned from the mouth of its teacher Ruking. At this time she remembered, not aware of the tears, secretly blamed their qualifications stupid, did not get a hint of Zuking's strength to protect the mountain. So far the great disaster. Master, don't be sad, my Xiangxia school now has a little teacher brother. Little teacher brother is strong, cunning, certainly will not let us Xiangxia be bullied again. Chang Writing hugged Ruai Poem hand, squeeze out a smile comfort, thanks to Fei Chen, otherwise I Xiangxia was destroyed today, for the teacher when the master is not qualified, weekdays do not know enough, do not know that he is such a powerful avatar. Alas, there is a negative teacher teaching Ruai Poetry sighed, a trace of melancholy in the heart, such as fly wake up to have a good talk is, master, there is no need to be surprised. Fei Chen once killed the Gongliang white disciple, and obtained a magic of Shenjuang, and it is uncertain whether little brother, Shu used the secret art of Shenjuang. Lin Ruiyu think of things in Xiankao town, Shu with Ruai Poem explained, Shen village hundreds of years ago was also regarded as the world's first-class sword school, although not on the Qing Shuan Gate, Jiangdao Gate and other big, but its magic surprise, the mountain and river country map is marvelous, so it is not doubtful that Ruai Poem, maybe it is the same, and the magic sword, its fierce spirit, I do not know where he got it is extraordinary, and the spirit of the sword is very strange, and it can be seen by day, never heard of, and I do not know whether it is good. or bad. Ruai Poetry heart is secretly worried at this time, do not know why there are so many adventures flying churn, but it is a hunch that there will be some bad things happen in the future. A few people are chatting, inside the room has been out of the previous little girl Flowerling giggle too, a few people infected, look at each other, are smiling, they know is flying churn woke up. The evil that troubles all beings chapter 42 intensified contradictions, inside the room, fly churn miso sit up. Open your eyes at that moment, was actually lucky double snow on the head of the bed to sleep lightly, this look, eyes cannot help, but open the boss, you. What are you doing here, but to get your two bear bands back? No. Absolutely no. Some stunned staring at each other, flying churn also startled, the battle method of the night, he woke up at this moment as if in the clouds, has not yet remembered last night's tragic things, its character is a strange, is blurted out, touch around the objects, found around, just some peace of mind. After not sleeping for 2 days, she was suddenly awakened, she was frightened and her right hand was immediately caught on her chest, thinking of the situation of being bullied by him, in the dragon's nest. She could not help but be angry and red and said, rude and not serious, she said that she was embarrassed to stand up and turn her back, but the words are so said, she is now a scene in her heart, came in more than 2 hours, happened to wake up when Hualing boiled water, the first sight of her, how can she not be happy? 2 days and nights with Hualing, hurried slowly to rush the flying sword, say little, but think very much, because of this idea, unexpectedly allow themselves to miss each other, is the devil came here, and the devil sat on the bed, but also at ease to sleep, perhaps even she also feels strange, see each other so, Fei Chern heart funny, mouth began to toss up, 1,000 miles to find me, but you want a hug. No hug. If the opportunity passes away, do you really not embrace it? Everything is fine. Flowerling clever way, went to the flower hall found in addition to Ruayu poetry, Lin Ruayu a few people, lucky double snow and another acquaintance also in, that person is not others, it is from the Kingston gate came to Lonnian, and there is a young man next to, but I do not know who, see that head in a white mixed yuan scarf, dressed in a white Taoist robe with black edges, its face is white and clean, the body is slender, some slightly thin, although not as handsome as Lonnian, but it is also rarely flawed. Lonnian at this time, the wind and dust, the face is very clear, see double snow is cold and proud, to stand aside, but do not speak, then first to Ruyu poem to see the ceremony, Kingian Peak Palm Peak real right treasure in the disciples saw Lonnian, the Palm Peak real son, under the brother right son, we came late, hope master uncle forgive, the slightly thin young look is also with a trace of sadness, obviously is also good at modifying the generation, but also bow to salute, well, how is brother Quan Jung Bo? Ruai poetry look not false color, a pair of indifferent look, obviously for each other now to disdain, that Lonnian see Ruyu poetry so, know that the other party has been angry on the Qing Xuan gate, then explained, Ru master uncle most strange, the master is also yesterday received the wire, the moment sent me 2 people and a number of disciples to reinforce, but did not think, well, the female Dao is a little tired, these things have passed, what matters tomorrow, Ruai poem wave to stop Lonnian continue to say, but see flying churn has arrived at the hall, charged one will go to the guest room after meeting, then with Lin Ruayu and others left, for the Kingston gate as, she has not hold any hope, rely on people better by themselves, so also don't want to care, Lonnian see each other indirectly under the order, also know their own late, so the Ruai poem left, they can only say yes, the heart is already in despair, but back to God, or turned with his sister, I thought you went where, master uncle, can worry about it, especially sent me this lover with a large group of disciples to Xiangxia gate, by the way to find you, oh, worry me, I'll go back, lucky double snow na baka, but did not answer, obviously she now do not know how to face the former like the teacher brother, he was flying churn bullied, there is a ghost in the heart, where dare to look at people, just want to leave here as soon as possible, how can that be? I took you out the other day, looked for you for a few days, and when I came back, I was scolded, and I asked around, where I thought you had gone, Lonnian tone obviously eased a lot, he is the Kingian Peak disciples, and the Sky Peak near, in the Kingston gate was admonish, he later think is also his own head Elam, but any dead reason, gaswalk this little sister, this back Xiangxia Peak business, but accidentally bumped into Double Snow, send away his master, fly into the flower hall, he has too many questions to answer. And the answer to this question naturally only Kingston door people know. See hall outsiders is flying. Lucky Double Snow suddenly appear a little strange, did not directly answer Lonnian words, but in the heart do not know what to think. Is Sun Zinklin out there? Flying between the pupils seems to suddenly string out a flame, staring at Lonnian. The last time saw Sun Zinklin is he with, not looking for him to find who. And Sun Zinklin and Xiangxia Peak disaster, should have contact, how can not let him angry? What do you want with brother Sun? He came with me yesterday, but he didn't know why. When he was near the Xiangxia gate, he left in a hurry, saying that he had something to do. Longyunki Wei, looking at the poor expression of Flying Chern, some doubts in my heart. Although Kingian Peak and the Sky Peak disciples often come and go, but Sun Zinklin is not very understand. Xiangkao Town is also forced to bring because of Double Snow. At this time to see each other's face is not good. Suddenly hesitate. But guess what? Fei Chern do not know what he did. Also lazy to ask. Cold say such a paragraph too. Not something to do, is to know that Xiangxia gate was not destroyed, and fled it. Hey, what a false moral gate. Lonnian, right son, lucky Double Snow. Three people listen to this. When the face changes, the evil that troubles all beings. Chapter 43 Zwandu Purple House Sword, Brother Fei Chern, where do you start? Lonnian see each other seems not good, but startled, see flying in the eyes have a look of disbelief. He is also a little strange, but do not know before and after the Cloud Fei Chern personality transformation of huge reasons. This brother has anything to say slowly, and don't bring the whole Kingston gate with you. Right Zheng's lukewarm smile, but some angry in the words, in his eyes. A disciple with only a fetus, dare to stand out directly in the face of the whole Kingston gate. But I do not know whether he is crazy or stupid. Flying Chern frowns, but does not pay attention to what the other side says, but his eyes show a gloomy, with what? Aren't you all so pretentious? Do you really think it's easy to destroy my Xiangxia pie for personal revenge? Isn't it what you do when you let all the schools around you not come to my aid? Yay, you don't have to tell me that Sun Zinklin, a disciple of Kankian Feng, a small Kingston gate, would have such powerful means. After saying this, lucky Double Snow all over a shock, only feel spinning, the mind has become dizzy. She has never ignored the door in the matter, has always been alone, never thought of Xiangxia gate, almost destroyed the door will be related to the Kingston gate or the Sky Peak. Is Sun Zinklin? No, Sun Zinklin does not have this strength, is it? She dared not want to go down, staring at Yunfei Chern, a blank brain, can't say anything. I don't expect you to be able to say anything. I have written down the actions of the Qing Zuamen, and I will definitely report the enemies of the teachers and sisters, 55 fresh lives, and one day I will surely let you repay the Qing Zuamen 100 times and 1,000 times. Flying Chern face ferocious, big hand wave, turn to pull up the flower ling, step will leave, he will surely go to revenge, the dust edge of the school to annihilate all. Kingston gate, also have to pay the price due to this. The death of the sisters, he will never forget. Passing the flower hall, that fell a bright red rhododendron, just like walking on the blood river, the heart of the surly gas can hardly control, it is a pain, hidden in the heart indelible pain. Brother Flyken, how did you? Longlian looked at flying to the back room, his character is peaceful, everything is planned and determined, quite old style, he understands a sad person said and cannot really take it seriously. So he is not going to put in the heart, silently seeing to enter the flying of the hall, standing in place don't know what words to explain. However, Quan Zheng's lowered his head, his handsome eyebrows were twisted together, his face was uncertain, and when he raised his head, his mouth was sneering. Oh you are 100 times as good as 1,000 times as good, you are so arrogant Xiangxia disciple, let me see. No. Sword out of the scabbard, wind and thunder rush away. See right Zeng's waved his right hand, a sword was in his hand. The sword 3 feet 5 inches long, pure purple bright, faint running thunder on its sword, there are mountains and rivers, caves, people, like real mountains and real water included in it, brilliance, the sword book Zwandu Purple House a few words, was actually a treasure. And the translucent longsword in his hand, as if fused together, each other, imposing and horizontal, dyed purple all around. Right Sens is 18 years old, blood age, grow up in Kingsam and Kingian Peak, father is a peak of the right treasure, identity can be said to be with double snow is not bad. Kingsaman already pay attention to etiquette, he has always been respectful and humble to people, others are also to him. This time the first time down the mountain, was inexplicably twisted by people, said a generation of hypocrisy. Where did he get this kind of provocation? A kind of pride hidden in the heart suddenly broke out at this moment, Brother Chuan. Why is that? Stop it. Longnian see this sword tension situation, cannot help but panic. This method treasures Wandu purple house sword is a sharp weapon of the Qing's Wanman, that is, in other schools is also the first class of the town of the treasure. Kingian Peak Palm Peak right in the treasure is also because of love's son for the first time to go out, or to aid Xiangxia gate, or there is a war is uncertain, so the heart really care for this sword delivery, can aid is failed, but it's a conflict with the person he trying to help, and then what? His strength and the right of the sun originally in between, but the hand of the sword and the devil outside the way to break, now is a sword without, just a step forward, was the right of the son of the sword blowing out, now can, not enter, back is not, block in front of do not know how to be good, the power of the purple house sword he naturally knows, with his eyes on the cloud fei churn judgment, I can't even make it out of a round, brother power. What are you doing? See each other to fly sword, plus, lucky double snow jiao drink, logcan tire caught in the hand, her logcan tire is the gift of its mother, although not the town peak treasure, but also the world's first-class weapon, at this time the sword, immediately on the red and green bright, protective gang cover also added up. She does not know for the right son, is the blood age of 18 years old, since childhood in Kingston Gate Kingian Peak, father is a peak of the long right treasure, identity can be said and lucky double snow is not bad. Kingston Gate has always paid attention to etiquette, he has always been respectful and humble to people, others also reciprocated him with courtesy. This first time down the mountain, it was inexplicably hanged by people, said to be a hypocritical generation. Where has he been such a provocation? A kind of pride hidden in the heart suddenly broke out at this moment, Brother Chuan. Why is that? Stop it. Longnian see this sword tension situation, cannot help but panic. This method treasures Wandu purple house sword is a sharp weapon of the Qing's Wanman, that is, in other schools is also the first class of the town of the treasure. Kingian Peak Palm Peak right in the treasure is also because of love's son for the first time to go out, or to aid Xiangxia gate, or there is a war is uncertain, so the heart really care for this sword delivery, can aid is failed, but it's a conflict with the person he trying to help, and then what? His strength and the right of the sun originally in between, but the hand of the sword and the devil outside the way to break, now is a sword without, just a step forward, was the right of the son of the sword blowing out, now can, not enter, back is not, block in front of do not know how to be good, the power of the purple house sword he naturally knows, with his eyes on the cloud fei churn judgment, I can't even make it out of a round, brother power, what are you doing? See each other to fly sword, plus, lucky double snow jiao drink, logcan tire caught in the hand, her logcan tire is the gift of his mother, although not the town peak treasure, but also the world's first sharp weapon, at this time the sword, immediately on the red and green bright, protective gang cover also added up. She does not know why, the heart is to protect the cloud flying churn, see not him injured, see not him bullied, she wants to protect him, to death. Even what was going on in her head was beginning to become unclear. Flying churn slowly turned around, hand gently will flower ling in the back, the pupil of the eye seems to emit a breath, isn't this deja vu all over again? But Lin Ruiyu's sister became his own, Sun Zinklin became the right son, however, there is one has not changed. Is the Qing Shuan gate or that kind of condescending arrogance, a kind of arrogance to look down on the world? This pride made him hate, let his heart fire, let him think of the night of blood, the severed limbs of the teachers and sisters, and Rui's eyes that touch of desolation and despair, Fei Chen's right hand held flat, that kind of surly gas from the heart, condensed palm, his handsome face almost fierce, twisted into a group, coldly smiled, the second son Zinklin. Good. Do you want to kill us Xiangxia gate again? Or should we take the opportunity to kill him now, to make up for my Xiangxia pie? Get out of the way. Right son see the man's strength is low, but dare to look at him, The heart of the hidden that a touch of pride is also skyrocketing countless times. Xuan, a purple house sword, storm thunder, a swing, clang, a sound, will block in front of his lucky double snow even people, with swords to blow fly out, absolute, immortal, sword, flying churn right hand catch, boom. With a loud noise, the wall of the inner hall was knocked open a huge hole, and the dark sword was caught in his hand. In an instant, heaven and earth Xiao killed. Within 30 feet, all are shrouded in a terrible air. The air slowly became thin and stagnant, like the heart contracted after expansion, and then contracted again. The sky began to fill with black fog, like the scene depicted on the sword, flying fairy. Heaven and earth are desolate. Sword dexterous speech, a black dress, floating in his back, painted red eyes, exudes a kind of aggression, a killing, but the mouth is upturned, inexplicable cold. Sir, are you going to kill again so soon? Is that the kid in front of you? Clark, kill him, make him a dead spirit under my sword, make him increase the rage in his sword, ha ha ha. Kiaing beauty eyes bent into a bend under the moon, agitating the flying. The sword on the hand has been linked to him with a painted black protective gang cover, sword spirit. Lonnian stared at the sword and saw the beautiful woman standing behind it. He frowned tightly. How did he not know what it was? There was no ghost, no evil, but only sword spirit. This was a sword spirit that could be manifested in the day, and it was a sword spirit with independent consciousness and no control. Like the ghost of the day, floating and misty, unspeakable strange, it's the perfect sword. Brother, you can't beat him, go. After all, the friendship of the same door, Lonnian how do not know the powerful treasure, the light that such momentum, can scare the dead, ha ha. I can't fight him. You said I couldn't beat him. I have the sword of Gendude cipher in my hand. Or be afraid of him? Right Sun obviously has fallen into a frenzy, the strength of the gap is so obvious, and his hands a purple house sword, can be transformed into the palace world, can be transformed into a demon, fairy house sword sent to help. Do you need to be afraid of such? Swankson City, the underworld cave, the devil in the mountain, the purple house sword school, all the drive. Right Zeng's purple sword festival, his hands continue to play a variety of knot seals, the foot even back a few steps. Purple sword in an instant was covered with a variety of strange ancient words, and then, the whole 10 zhangs of flowers suddenly changed a pattern, shrouded in a purple space. A building of palaces rose from the ground, a mountain peak also appeared in front of everyone. The peak opened a door, which ran out of many strange monsters, not holding a giant hammer, is holding a mace, and the palace world is in the demon rushed out. The capital opened, there are many sect disciples took off sword flying into the air, the direction is where the flying. This ghost fairy trap kill spell is the sword of Zwandu purple house sword in the world. The sword itself is a magic weapon, but also a sword, the end is fierce no horse, even log can tire. This and other artifacts are not straight to its own, although the strength of a few hundred ghosts and demons is only general induction repair, but it is very much. If the sword people have strong power, those ghosts will be more severe, but this strength has been enough to let fly churn. Of course, this is just wishful thinking. A group of black gas suddenly spread, covering the purple sky, ground, mountains, palaces. Flying churn paint black protective gang cover suddenly expanded more than 5 zhangs. All kinds of children do resist in the outside. Sword clever words floating in the air, began to sing sword mojai. Flying churn step by step to command the power of the sun, even disdained to use the spell.